Hi, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Well, the Palace March is over. I resigned as head coach at the end of May 2025. But one of the things I like to do is see how the team does in the future without me at the helm. So I've forwarded 3 years. It is now early June 2028, and we're going to see how Crystal Palace has gotten on without Sean-Patrick Jellico in charge. Now, this I think is interesting. Torino's offering me a job interview, but if I go up here to all items, and I had like over 100 in there, and I type in interview, or wait a minute, you know what, we'll type in job. Now we get a bunch of stuff there, so we want to type in job interview. Torino is the only team in 3 years to offer me an interview, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because if we go to home and here, 4-star reputation, Continental Pro license, I'm not going to say a bucket full of career milestones, but, you know, a decent career in 6 years at Crystal Palace. You would think I would have gotten an offer from a couple of other teams. I'm not quite sure what this avoids talking to the press and regularly communicates directly with his players is, because I am very, very active in communicating with my players. So, that said, it is... Well, I'm wanted by a bunch of teams. Borussia Mönchengladbach, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Torino, Hoffenheim. That could be interesting. And I have not looked at this. Crystal Palace, first in the Premier League. They won the league. And Jurgen Klopp's the coach. Okay. You know what? We're going to go to history here and go to managers. They literally hired Jurgen Klopp a week after I left, and he's been at the club the entire time. He's won the league twice, and he's had 2 cup wins. So, you know what? Let's go to their schedule. 2025, 2026. So this was the season I resigned. Let's auto-size all this. You know whose name I am seeing a lot? Jacopo Ricci and Kelechi Iheanacho. Wow, look at this run. From December to early February, they didn't lose a game. They came back to beat RB Leipzig in the Champions League first knockout round. They lost to Bayern Munich in the Champions League quarterfinals. But they won the FA Cup. Okay. We'll go forward a season. Okay, this is mildly disturbing. You know whose name I'm not seeing here now? Jacopo Ricci. And they obviously finished out of 4th because they're in the Europa League here. But they won the Europa League the second year after I left, which is very cool. How far else did they get? They lost in the FA Cup 6th round. Okay, then this season here was the season they won, at least if I'm reading it correctly. They sold Jacopo. Okay, that's mildly frustrating. They got their revenge on Bayern. No, they didn't. They lost to Bayern again. 5-3 on aggregate. They got the first knockout round. And they lost in the FA Cup semifinal. And they lost to Chelsea. Yeah, champions. 87 points. Ahead of Liverpool. Okay, you know what? We'll look at the stages. It's easy enough to do this. 6th place that year. Liverpool with 100 points. Wow. And 5th place that year. This was the last year I was coaching. We finished in 4th. You know what? Let's take a look at transfers. This is where it's going to get interesting. So this was my last season here, 2024-2025. Who'd they bring in? They brought in 199 million and spent 98 million. Who'd they bring in? Okay. I know why this is. And I've seen this happen before in previous versions of the game too. If you play it's not an unusual formation, but I wouldn't call it a standard formation. The 4-3-3 with the 3 forwards up top, not a lot of coaches play that. So when you get a coach like Jurgen Klopp who comes in, he's going to play his version of the 4-3-3, which is the DM, the 2 midfielders, and the 2 wingers with the lone striker up top. So he's got no space for my 3 strikers, and he's got to bring in players to fill in the positions he doesn't have. So I can see why he brought in Sessegnon. I can see why he brought in Ossie Robinson. Ossie Robinson is a midfielder who I actually have my eye on. I don't know why he brought in Angus Gunn as the keeper, because he had Ramsden there. He brought in Iheanacho, probably to be the attacking midfielder, or the striker maybe. Jayden Bogle is a right back, so he's obviously not a fan of Correa. And Progbinak was actually a future transfer that I had arranged. Mirko went to Chelsea for 84 million. Let's see what else is going on here. I'm going to sort this by loans. Borja went to Stoke on loan. That's not a good sign for me. Joaquin went back to Argentinos Juniors. Andros Vasily went to Lazio on loan. He was going to be my starting left back. Somehow he got £32,000 a month for Brett Sayers and £115,000 a month for Ben Chilwell. Okay. Beach went to QPR. Fernandez went to Krasnodar. Nketiah went to Stoke. And nobody on the released players. So we go ahead of season. They out and out released Borja, who is at Huddersfield now. We'll look at that here in a second. They spent a bunch of money again. Rodrigo for £100 million. So 100, 120, 160, another £200 million on the transfer budget. Rodrigo for £101 million. Almada is an attacking midfielder on the right. Netcham, who's an attacking midfielder in the center. Scott Walden, who is an attacking midfielder on the right. They literally just spent £66 million on 2 players. They're attacking midfielders on the right. Jacopo went to Chelsea for $128 million. Good God. Fagner went to Man City for $112 million. Wow. Mepham to Stoke, Luis to Burn. A lot of players going out on loan. And then this last season here, $40 million on Hernando, who's an attacking. It's like 3 years in a row. We spent $40+ million on attacking midfielders. Faraz went to Villa for 7.25. Almada, didn't they just get him the last season? They bought him for 22. They turned around and flipped him for 41.5, going to 52. Shenkwai Hoon. Pereira went to Porto. Iheanacho went to China. Gotta go here. Paranoid Ram. They released Rafferty. No. Okay, so let's look at the squad. Well, they brought in Angus Gunn, but he hasn't hardly played. Ramsden is still the starting keeper. So you know what? We'll check Ramsden out here. You know, that's not bad. I mean, he's still working his way up to getting close to NECA. Sandro as a defensive right back. That's interesting. Okay. 290 appearances. I really hope he's here for the long term, but then it's not up to me. Cordy is still here. That's nice to see, too. couple solid seasons from him. William Gubbles, 15 goals, 6 assists in 20 starts, 26 appearances off the bench. He's been replaced by Rodrigo, it looks like. 118 goals and 272 appearances. Yep, he's been a part-time starter. This was the year Klopp came in and he started up top as the striker, had 7 goals and 5 assists. We still have Jeff. That's pretty solid. Rodrigo is the Brazilian they spent all the money on, and he has responded with 13 goals and 16 goals. Well, 25 overall if you count all the cups and continental appearances and whatnot. Chelsea bought him for 95 and turned around and sold him for 101. Wow. Anybody else on here? Andros Vasiliou should be my starting defensive left back. Instead, he's been going out on loan. No? Okay, you know what? We'll check out a couple of players that left. Oh, 24 clean sheets last year. Okay, this is the one that hurts. But he's obviously in a system at Chelsea that's not playing to his strengths. Only 13 goals the first year he was there, 20 goals total the last year. That's just wild. Okay, Champions League. Helps if I spell it correctly. Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona. Well done, Liverpool. Europa League, which I know we have won. Twice in 4 years. So once under us, once under Jurgen. Tottenham won. Chelsea won. That's not bad. Well, Rodrigo won Player of the Year for us. Interesting. Anything else? You know what? We're going to go back to the Premier League. Oh, we'll check out World Cup here real quick. Portugal won it in 2022. Italy won it in 2026. That's interesting. You know what? Back to the Premier League. Oh, anything stand? You know what? Let's go switch to stages real quick. Anything stand out here other than this is the current season, which we won? Only lost 3 games. Who did we lose to? Chelsea, Tottenham, and Man City. Okay. Brighton qualified for the Europa League based on winning the Carabao, probably. That's cool. Arsenal sneaking back up in the top 5 here. Blackburn back up in the Premier League. That's cool. And this was the first season Klopp took over. So they've done really well for themselves. They've won the Premier League and they won the Europa League. So Klopp's equaled what I did in 3 years. That Klopp in 3 years has done what it took me 7 to do. So that's pretty cool. You know what? We'll check out a couple other Palace players here real quick. Zaha has retired. He's a scout. He was at Huddersfield and had several unexceptional seasons, then moved to Galatasaray and had a couple unexceptional seasons there. Let's see. Benteke. Christian Benteke is a coach. that's a decent lower level youth league coach. I'd stick him on under 18 teams in the Vanarama. He's got good working with youngsters, good adaptability, poor man management, poor motivating. Okay, maybe I wouldn't stick him under my under 18 squad, but there are worse out there. Yep, he ended up back in La Liga. He ended up back in Spain, had one good season there, at least for him, and then left. He did absolutely nothing in Espanyol. And he had 3 good seasons in Maccabi Tel Aviv. He's just one of those players that you're just... I don't know. I think his stats, his attributes say he should be a better player than he is in the game. That's just not happening. Juan Basaka is at Middlesbrough. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Fagner, Tonali, Ricci, Borja. Where'd Borja go? He's at Huddersfield. What's he doing at Huddersfield? He's coming off the bench. That's kind of sad to see. Oh, well. I mean, by all rights, he really ought to be like a Crystal Palace legend, but that's just me talking out loud. Where do I go for that? I'm not even a legend. I'm just an icon. Gulls is an icon. Ricci's an icon. Rodrigo's an icon. Milvievic. What happened to him? He retired after a career. He just retired this year. He retired 20 years in the game. It's a decent way to end. Sandro Tonali favored personnel. Okay. Why am I not a legend? Dang it. Then, of course, if I was a legend, Klopp would have to be a legend too. Facilities. How are they doing there? Oh, they upgraded Selhurst. Almost 40,000 people now. That's cool. Sure, after I leave, their youth level goes up. Yeah, they've spent a ton of money to get the win, but, if that's what they needed to do, that's what they needed to do. But this is what I'm talking about. This, if I go to tactics, this is what Klopp's playing. He's playing 4-2-3-1 with Tonali, defensive center back. What the heck is going on with that? I mean, he can play there, but he's much better than Eriksen. That's just weird. Okay, that's just weird. Jurgen, what the heck are you doing, man? But anywho, this is a standard formation, and my squad wasn't built to really play much of anything else. I could play that 4-1-3-2. I could play a 4-2, or I could play a 4-3-3 with a defensive midfielder, 2 midfielders, the wingers, and a striker up top. I had players who could play advanced midfielder left and advanced midfielder. I had players who could play advanced midfielder left and advanced midfielder right. Not the best players by any stretch of the imagination, but players who could play there. But you know what? I can't really complain. They're doing really good. They won the Premier League. Well, what I'm going to do now is forward ahead another 4 years. So we are going to go to 2032, and we'll check out how the team does in that intervening time, and that will be the end of the Palace March. But this has been fun. It was nice to see them win, and the Europa League one was nice too. Hopefully they can do better in the Champions League. But it looks like Jurgen's got a firm hand on things. We'll see what happens. If you liked what you've seen and heard, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Questions, criticisms, comments, leave those down below. If you want me to look up any players on the next episode, leave those down below as well, and I will get to them. My name is FM Jellico. Thank you for watching.